Our brand new book has landed. Hendo, 10 Years a Red, premium collector's edition, the definitive Jordan Henderson collection in A4 size, 200 pages, full colour, incredible insight, in-depth knowledge and the stories of his rise from a young boy in Sunderland all the way through their academy to the Premier League, taking the captain's armband, becoming the captain and leading Liverpool to be champions of everything and beyond as well. It's got his greatest moments season on season, some incredible, unique, phenomenal custom artwork from some of the best Liverpool artists on the scene, incredible high definition photos of his best moments as well. It is an incredible Jordan Henderson collection and it fits right in your hands just about. It is a behemoth of a book. It is incredible and it is available right now. You can get it and you can learn more about the Liverpool skipper from the people who are closest to him on that journey, friends, family, coaches, players and managers. Yes, it is Hendo, 10 Years of Red, and it is available right now on redmenmerch.com. Get involved. Hello everyone, it is Thursday, it is live and it is Transfer Insight with myself, Paul Machin and Neil Jones of Goal.com. Neil, as we've seen in the comments, mouthpiece for the club, Jones, which is just, I mean...
I've been called worse. I'm sure it'll happen again in the future.
I've been called the same and worse, so it's absolutely fine. We're going to have a bit of a discussion, a bit more of a free-for-all this week, really, because we're in a position where there's no massive concrete rumours coming from anywhere. You know, we spoke about Jeremy Doku last week. That's another one where there's lots of... The only thing that's coming from that, I think, is like... It's the same journalist, same Belgian journalist who just keeps basically repeating the fact that Liverpool have clearly had a look at him.
Yeah.
But there's nothing...
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of that, isn't there? That I think Liverpool's name does get used quite a lot in transfer stories, and you look at the guy from Bournemouth, Dan Juma, who we spoke about in the previous show, and he's going to Villarreal. I'm pretty sure Liverpool did sort of have a look and see what he's about. If they didn't, they weren't doing the jobs. But I think at this time of year you get a lot of those type of they're described a lot in publications as Liverpool target or Manchester United target or Arsenal target, whatever it may be, and they're not really necessarily targets, they're more just players who, you know, have been looked at in vague terms.
There's a great barometer, and I find if you think, oh, we'll link with this player, go and type their name in and then Manchester United afterwards and see how many articles come up with it. And more often than not, everyone at Liverpool are tentatively linked who aren't really linked by the main people, the main Northwest journos. It tends to be that they're also linked with United.
Do you know what? I'll for full transparency, I have a problem with Goal for this kind of thing where we do a series called Next Gen, and we look at under 20 players in world football, men and women, but with the men's side of it, or the boys' side of it, you want to call it, so many of them end up with sort of Liverpool-linked Atalanta youngster or Aston Villa youngster in one case I can think of, and Manchester United are always in there. And you know, so I often get asked about it. Oh, didn't know we were linked with this guy, and you think, well, we actually weren't, you know, as far as I'm aware, but it's sort of, it is a little bit of an industry tool. It gets put in there, and you look at URLs an awful lot and keywords in URLs, and you often get Liverpool Manchester United transfer news in the URL, which it's a sad, you know, indictment, but it's it sometimes feeds into this cycle of rumours. But yeah, I mean, Doku is one that I think is an interesting player, and I think would be someone who I think would make sense in a Liverpool transfer rumour world, but as far as I'm aware, not this summer.
Yeah, there's a few that actually have happened in terms of outs, which we'll come to in a second. But if you've got any questions, then let us know them in the live comments.
As long as you're polite.
No, you're being funny, but it's a general point. Be polite, because you won't be commenting on this channel again if you're not polite. Simple as that, really. I want to talk about. Let's start with Ben Woodburn. Hearts.
Yeah, well, possibly. Yeah, I mean. Possibly, Hearts definitely in amongst all that. Few options for him. It's a strange one, Ben Woodburn. I mean, I'll run through the options of Hearts. Hearts are, I think, at the head of the queue. I think would probably be the easiest one logistically, with being, you know, in the UK, decent level, obviously, decent sort of exposure in this country, which I think is where Ben obviously sees his future, being in England in the future. But options in Denmark, AGF, who had Kamal Grabara last year on loan, They've got Stig Ingerbjørneby, the former Liverpool left back. He's involved there, so there's a bit of a relationship there. Croatia, I think there's been some options as well. Maybe even Holland. He's been linked in the past to move to, I think it was Excelsior Rotterdam last summer. So there's options across Europe. None of them are sort of what you'd say like prime or brilliant options, to us, but to him potentially a chance to go and play football, and that's what he needs. I mean, he's had a couple of bad decisions and a couple of bits of bad luck, certainly. I think going to Sheffield United was a bad move, and I think it's reflected upon. It's
interesting because it's a good move under normal circumstances, but I think that's the season they come up, isn't it? And
it is,
they have a very tight nucleus in that side.
Yeah, it's a very specific way of playing with the centre backs. Obviously, Chris Wilder, you saw him when he was in the Premier League. Basically rotates his forwards an awful lot. And, you look at, I don't know, God knows how many forwards he had, but McBurney, Sharp, Brewster, what's the guy called, Moussa. They had, and they were trying to find solutions, whereas the rest of the team pretty much stayed the same with the midfield and the defence, and Woodburn was falling into that midfield category. Mark Duffy was the guy who pretty much kept him out that whole season. Guy who was released by Liverpool when he was younger, which certain irony to that when you've got this Liverpool youngster trying to break through. But yeah, it didn't really work out, and I think Liverpool reflect on that and think, well, got that one wrong. Yeah. Maybe overestimated how easy it would be for Woodburn to go into the Championship. Oxford looked like it was going to be a good one. He'd really settled in, breaks his foot, comes back, breaks his foot again when he's just about to go back to Oxford around Christmas time, and that kills him really. He ends up coming back for the playoffs. And then last season, Blackpool looked a perfect loan on paper with Neil Critch, and you think, okay, that's a great opportunity for him, quite near to, in terms of travel and all those kind of things. Shouldn't be too great a settling in period. And he gets COVID and then really couldn't find his way back. So he's had some bad luck there. It would be nice if he got some good luck. I don't think he's going to have a future at Liverpool, and Liverpool, I think, are pretty much resigned to that fact. He's in his last year of his contract, so the fact that they're willing to loan him tells you sort of what they think of him. But it'd be nice for them to go and play some games till January, get some minutes and some experience and some form under his belt, and then go and have his career somewhere else.
Yeah, no, he's a tidy enough player, isn't he? We had this debate on the Reds transfer roundup show on Wednesday, is that I don't know who he plays. He started off as a sort of forward. He was a bit of a 10, bit from the left. We've seen him used in midfield. There was that point a couple of pre-seasons ago where we were using him in midfield, and there was a very fluid sort of midfield 3 in pre-season where there was times when he'd be in the 6, at times when he'd be in the 8, and so on. But he's not tall. He's not fast. He's not brilliantly skillful. He's just a good footballer. He's just a good, neat and tidy footballer.
It's really tough, isn't it? I mean, I think I don't know if I spoke about this on this show actually, but I think when he came through, he scored a couple of goals, and I think that maybe changed people's opinions on him a little bit. And I remember seeing him compared to Michael Owen at one stage. He went through and scored one at Wigan, but he was never that because he didn't have the pace, and he's not known as a prolific goal scorer at youth level. And I spoke to someone at Liverpool around the first team, and he said they thought he was a bit Aaron Ramsey. He's sort of he glides a little bit across the pitch. He's not particularly quick. He's not particularly sort of physically imposing, but he's a nice footballer, and if he gets space, he can find it. And I've seen a little bit of that with him. So I think when you saw that performance, Osasuna in the friendly, there was an element of that playing in a midfield 3. But yeah, you're right. It's tough because what are teams in the Championship, for example, looking for? They're probably looking for someone who can be a game changer, i.e. goals and assists, like a Harry Wilson or someone like that. And he's not that. They're looking for someone who can be, really firm up your midfield. He's not really that. He's someone who, if your team's playing well and you're doing, you've got a nice settled lineup and you need a little sprinkling of quality extra there, he can do that. But if you're not, there's not many teams in the Championship that are in that position. Yeah. Sheffield United were probably one of those that, when he signed, they thought that's what he could do, and actually they managed to get there without needing that. They got there through a bit more solidity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I just want to quickly pop over to the comments. The Red Sea Podcast, which is a brilliant new YouTube channel. They've been going for a while, but they've got their own YouTube channel now, so do check it out. They're saying, afternoon, guys. Neil, what are the chances we sign no one else? 90%?
Sorry, I thought that was a player. I was like, I'm not seeing that rumour, no one else.
Lucas Neal is...
I think there's a fair chance that they sign no one else. I personally think there'll still be something that Liverpool will do. Just a bit of an educated hunch. But there's a chance. I mean, you saw Klopp's press conference last week, and I'm sure that sent a lot of people into a tailspin when he, it was James Pearce, obviously a colleague, who asked him about midfielders, and he said, "Come on, then, give me some names. Tell me who you'd sign." And the quotes went down. I think there was a sort of split, really. Some people said, "Well, perfectly good logic." Some people said, "Oh, just absolutely typical."
It's all
shielding
in how you read the word. Because that thing of like, we don't need more, we don't want to sign more players, and it's at how you read that word.
Yeah.
It was like, we want to sign more players, we don't want to sign any more players.
I think that's how he said it.
Yeah.
We don't want to sign, we don't need numbers, I think was what he was saying. We're not short of numbers. We might be able, I think he said that repeatedly, if something happens somewhere else, then we might be able to do something. I think that was the way he put it, which makes sense. Look, if Shaqiri and Origi are going, or someone comes in and puts 40 million down for Minamino, then okay, yeah, that's where the option is. And I think the other thing is probably to read into the fact that I think people assume that means it's money.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not. It's just about, Klopp's saying, I don't really want to get to the stage come August the 30th when I've got to get rid of 4 players because we've signed a couple and we thought we were going to get rid of Shaqiri to whoever, and we don't.
Well, look what happened. I think a good example of this is look at Arsenal. I keep coming back to Arsenal. I've just done a video of this on Mates
Great
TV.
for transfer shows, Arsenal, for what not to do.
Absolutely brilliant, yeah. But you look at Mustafi in January.
Yeah.
They've literally just got to get rid. They've just got to sack it off. And that's what Liverpool, I imagine, don't want to be in a situation where August 31st rolls around and these lads, because you can't, this is one point that came to me, because I had a look at this, and like Shaqiri's on, for one website I found, like I said, 3.8 million a year. He's on, like say, 80 grand a week. To cancel his contract, which has got 2 years, I think, left.
Yeah.
You're basically paying off his contract, which is going to cost you. You've got to find a taker. But if you don't have a taker, then he's either going to cost you 3.8 million for the year to sit, or half that till January till you can get rid, or you're having to pay the contract off, which is insane.
Or you're having to let a player go on loan and potentially run down more of his value that you were already trying to.
But you still got to take it for that as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It's not ideal. But to go back to the question, I think there's a chance Liverpool sign nobody, and I know that wouldn't go down particularly well, but I still think there's a fair chance that they look to do something before the end of the month. And also, you've got to factor in things can happen before the end of the month in terms of, you look at certain moves, Tottenham with Kane, and other moves that can just trigger a domino effect. I mean, we've already seen Ben White leave Brighton, for example, but you've seen Vestergaard. Southampton seems to be having some sort of clearance at the moment. Players leaving. Villa have obviously got money to spend. Yeah. There are a lot of things to still happen between now and, what is it, the 19th, I think, today. We've still got nearly 2 weeks. I think there'll be movement all across the Premier League between now and then, so it can be quite quick reacting. Yeah,
the Shaqiri stuff, I mean, we'll talk about Clarkson, who's got on loan in a second, but while we're on it, because I think the Shaqiri is the linchpin, because you're right to your point, there's a money issue, potentially. Like, I don't know that if one of Liverpool's top targets became available, but they were available at 100 million, I don't know whether Liverpool could afford that.
Yeah.
But the problem is that at the minute we don't know, because they're not moving for anyone, because there's no space in the squad, and Shaqiri might prove. I don't think the 10 million that they're hoping for him is necessarily going to be a breaker in terms of what we do after he's gone.
Yeah.
But the point is that there's still no movement since last week from the Lyon perspective. I think
it's important as well to point out that Shaqiri, a lot of people talk about a replacement for Shaqiri. I don't think that is. I think Harvey Elliott is that replacement for Shaqiri, as in the player and the option within the squad.
Small and left-footed.
Small left-footed guy who can play midfield and in the forward line. Yeah, okay, that's fine. But I think it's more sort of, how much do you lose a quality option off the bench for 25 games a season? Yeah. Do we need to add that? And it could be. I'm not saying this, and please don't clip this up into some neat social video, but by the end of the season, Kay Gordon could be this guy who's on the bench for 15 games, and God, he does all right in the last 10 minutes in games, certain games, home game, whatever it may be. Could be. I wouldn't want to hang my hat on that at the start of the season, but he's certainly in and around the first team squad. But I think it's more the idea that, look, is Origi, is Minamino, are they bankable forward options? And I think there's a big question mark at the very least about them. Yeah. So maybe that's the option. It's not let's go and find someone who can do exactly what Shaqiri does. If anything, there'll be someone who doesn't do what Shaqiri does. It'll be someone with pace, as in to running behind, or it'll be someone who can play very, very, give great width or that kind of thing, or a target man more. So it won't be a Shaqiri player.
It's funny because you're right, because this is where it's complicated, is that Konate is effectively the Wijnaldum replacement in terms of the body, the registered body in the squad, but he's not nominally in terms of the depth in those positions. And you're right, you take Shaqiri out, you're not straight swapping Shaqiri for another necessarily. They might do. They might look at it and go, well, we do need, maybe they might need another person to go and play on the right-hand side of the front three who's a bit more senior, who's got loads of pace. Someone like that is a bit more of a wild card. But then I think that's when you then go back and revisit the midfield thing of, do you need to go and get someone a
like Wijnaldum? I suppose to point out that you're right in the sense of, I talk a lot, and I do believe it. The thing to replace with Wijnaldum is the amount of games he played. But in theory, and it is only a theory, you are replacing that by making sure that Henderson and Fabinho are always available to play in midfield when they're fit, rather than actually we've got them in the back line and also an injury to someone else, and now all of a sudden we need to find someone who can play 50 games in midfield. It's a bit different.
And it's true, because Gini played a lot of the six last season.
He played a lot of the six in his Liverpool career, really. I mean, he certainly had spells in, I think, pretty much every season he played. He had a run of games playing in that role. So, that's the only concern for me, though, in terms that the only issue I think we've got squad depth issues, and it's like, I always use this analogy, but it's a bit like complaining about the tape deck not working in your Ferrari, is that we don't have a third choice DM. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because the first choice is Fabinho, and the second choice is Henderson. Yeah. And then beneath that, it might just be Milner this season, because we've seen that in pre-season.
It could be Thiago.
It could be Thiago
in a certain type of, I mean, it's not what you say, a DM, as in, like, he's not a break up the play physical thing, but it could be a what would you call it, a Xabi Alonso style DM, that kind of regista, that kind of player who is literally just get it, give it. But then, you're getting into specifics of certain games, and it can change with I mean, Milner played there Saturday, and I know that didn't go down well with certain groups, but I thought he did okay. He was involved quite strongly in the first two goals.
But I said this, the title winning season. Lallana does it a couple of times in the season. Villa, none of us would have been like, I definitely want that. I definitely want that to happen. And the idea is meant to be that you should never see that. Yeah. In a perfect world, James Milner should not play a game of football for Liverpool this season. Not for him. Yeah. No, you know what I mean? But because everyone's so fit and so well, but also the beauty of him is you do need to play him because he's boss and he's a good guy to have around the squad, and he deserves the gaze. But there is that. If he was our fourth or fifth choice DM, if he's jumped up the pecking order to third at 35, 36 years old or whatever, that's the only time we
Yeah, but I think what he does show, and I think repeatedly shows, and again, going back to, I'm not defending the club here, it's just, I'm defending James Milner, really. But I think he does show the way in terms of overcoming obstacles in sticky periods. And like, there was a time in that first half against Norwich where you thought, Milner, like, he got booked, flew in on someone you think probably going to have to take him off after an hour, and you don't. He plays on, he sets up, helps set up the first couple of goals, has a perfectly passable game in midfield, and Liverpool win 3-0, and all those sort of pre-match concerns and fears, well, Liverpool won, and he played, and maybe all he needs to do in that role is actually just keep it nice and steady for an hour, and then we'll bring on the big hitters for the last half hour. And I do think there was a real, of all the things that were really positive about Liverpool on Saturday, I actually think the biggest one was that it felt like they were just keeping Norwich where they needed them for an hour, and then they were going to go boom, and we're going to overpower you. And they did a lot of that in the 19-20 and the 18-19 season.
Solid first half.
Yeah, it was like a lot of forgettable first halves in that title-winning season. I mean, I can think of one. Norwich was one itself at Carrow Road in that season, but Southampton early in that season where they went. There
was one, I think,
and Mane scored right on half time.
I think we played Huddersfield at home one game. I remember being there at half time, being like, "Oh my god, this is dire," and then we just won. You know what I mean?
3-0. Yeah, Southampton this title-winning season, I think it was 0-0 half time. They won 4-0 by the end. There was a lot of that where it just felt like they really flexed their muscles in terms of the big, having a couple of real game changes off the bench. And you look, Ian Doyle from the Echo wrote a piece this week about players that are probably going to have to be left out of the squad against Burnley. A couple of good players gonna miss out somewhere along the line. You know, you could have a stage where one of Kanate, Gomez, Matip might have to miss out of the squad. Tsimikas could go from starting the first 3 games and not being even on the bench in certain games. You might have Milner not on the bench, probably not because of his versatility, but you might have Curtis Jones not making the bench, Harvey Elliott, you know, probably one of Origi and Minamino is going to miss out. So there are a lot of positives at the moment, but the caveat has to come, and I think that's where all the concern comes from, and I understand it, is what if the injuries, and there are probably just 2 or 3 too many players that it's not just a fatalistic thing, it's a likely.
Oh God,
it's a likely.
I don't think anyone's looking at Oxlade-Chamberlain and Keita, and to be fair, Henderson and Thiago, and no one's going. They're going to be. They're all of a sudden going to be 50-game-a-season players, because it's not going to happen. Yeah. So there is. You're right. There's an element of gamble, but it comes back to this all over again. What do you do about that?
Yeah.
What are you meant to do about that? Because you've got to move players on to make to change that. There can't be any more players. No, you could go and buy some English players. Yeah. But then again, how much is that going to cost you to do that? And who are they? Who are the English players that you'd have for that? Okay, well maybe this is the point about which is why Curtis Jones will get more game time, because you've got him, because he's young, and Harvey Elliott as well. But that's the point. If you think Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain are not up to it, well, 2 things. That's a good opportunity for Jones and Elliott to actually go and usurp them. They've got a season to try and prove themselves more worthy than that. But that's what, £90 million worth of footballers there in Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain. They're the right model for what you want your backups to be.
Yeah.
City have got a bench full of £40 and £50 million players. That's the ideal for Liverpool. Yeah. But if you're saying they're injury prone, and I agree, what's the solution is you're still going to move one of them on. And again, we say, just move one of them on. Where's the bid?
Yeah, exactly.
Where's the bid? Where the club's queuing up to take either of those players for a reasonable amount of money?
Exactly, and I keep going back to this, and going back to the mouthpiece at the start, but this is for Klopp, not the club. Klopp rates those players far higher than a lot of people do, and he really does. Origi's another one, really, that Dejan Lovren used to say all the time, you show me a centre-back better than Dejan Lovren, a 4th choice centre-back better. There isn't one. I mean, maybe they have got one now. Hopefully they have got one now. Yeah. But he's of that is, how much would I have to spend to get a better player than Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain? And whether you agree with him or not, that's his way of looking at it. And same with Naby Keita.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's absolutely spot on. Just a random super stay from Rabadam saying, I wish Ole still signed crap Norwegian players. I miss Liverpool having like exciting Norwegian players on the books. It's a very 90s thing, isn't it? Like,
Did he say Ole? Did he say he wishes Ole still signed? Yeah. As in Solskjaer?
I guess so, yeah.
That's random, yeah. I mean, you're right though, a Norwegian would be nice, wouldn't it? When was the last time Liverpool had one? Would it be?
It's either Leonardson or Hegem, I guess. Maybe, unless...
Is Hegem Norwegian or Danish?
No, Hegem was Norwegian.
Was he?
He was right back. Yeah. Indeed, yeah.
It's a long time though, isn't it? Yeah. There's one Norwegian, I think, that everyone would like Liverpool to sign.
Yeah, so maybe there's one that we can have a little look at maybe next summer, unfortunately. Yeah. But yeah, no, interesting stuff. All right, let's talk Leighton Clarkson then. He's gone to Blackburn on loan. There's been a lot of really positive noise around this. It's mad how, the Elliott thing's now proven that it can be a decent path. It's obviously quite local still. It's a decent standard of football. Very local
for him. I think he lives on the same village as the training ground. So
there you go. Yeah. Oh, that doesn't bode well. You can't live too close to work.
He'll always be late. Yeah, definitely. He'll leave. He'll cut it fine every single day.
But the vibes from Liverpool seem good about this one.
Yeah. Look, I think it was one thing that came out of the pre-season was that Leighton Clarkson had done really well, both in training and in the games. And he's 20. He's a nice footballer. The big thing is his size, obviously, for a midfielder, and that made it difficult for Liverpool to get a loan move, and that's why Blackburn does fit, because they are a team that obviously plays in the Championship and needs to have a certain level of physicality, but they don't play around that. And Elliott was able to slot into that and play a lot of games last season. I know he was out of the side, the starting lineup at the back end of the season, but he played 40 odd games last season. If he can get anywhere close to that, I think it'll do him the world of good. I think the feeling was that he's ready to play first team football, not in the Premier League, not at Liverpool, but go and play some football. Let's see what type of midfielder you're going to be. Let's see how well you overcome those size issues that you might have as a midfielder. Big Blackburn fan. I heard him talking about Tugai, who's probably a decent role model to have for someone in that role. Not someone who's physically sort of massive, and someone who used their football brain and that ability. So if he can do half what Tugai did at Blackburn, I think he'll have a good go at it. But he was on the bench, unused sub. I think Tuesday night, wasn't it? Nottingham Forest. He got a good win away from home. I don't think it'll be long before he's in the side.
It's interesting, yeah. It's fascinating to see, because you want your young lads to come good, but it is that eternal thing. If you're a DM and you look at how important it is for Liverpool setup, just having a big lads in the pitch, it's something that might be a struggle to overcome. But yeah, all the best to him, of course. It's a good comment. We had a lot of people asking, because I've said, by all means, send any questions you want in to Neil. And I don't want us to resort to me just saying names and you saying no.
I apologise for that. Yeah.
They've got. I'll do one quickly. Dan J says Mateus Cunha is a good versatile attacking option with potential in his opinion. Any LFC interest in him?
No idea. I'm sorry, no idea.
No.
But I have seen him play. Hertha Berlin, obviously. He's done quite well there. I mean, they're a bit of a strange club, Hertha Berlin, and they had a lot of investment, and I haven't really gone anywhere with it. Remind you of anyone? but he's probably their jewel in their crown. I know he was at the Olympics, I think. So he's got a glowing reputation, but I couldn't tell you. I haven't had anything on Liverpool being in there. I haven't even seen a tenuous link, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Does 87 is not. There's been a ton of people asking this. In fact, Josh Hattar as well, asking about Jude Bellingham, and Doz says, I have a feeling we're keeping our powder dry for Bellingham next season.
Do you know what? I hope they are.
I really hope.
Is the first thing to say, and I see the logic in it. It's not a strange line to draw. I don't think. I think he'll obviously. You've seen with Sancho. Probably that is the Dortmund model: is young English player, come over, establish yourself, and then go back to England and become a player. I think Chelsea are keen on Bellingham. Mm-hmm. My colleagues reported that, Naz Kinsella has reported they fancy Bellingham, and that obviously muddies the water. But you look at a player and you think, what price would be too much for Jude Bellingham at this moment in time? 18 years of age? He can be the focal point of your midfield for 10, 15 years. Liverpool should certainly be having a good close look at that. I do suspect possibly that their priorities will be further forward than Jude Bellingham next summer. Yeah, I mean that's always the thing. You never know about what Liverpool are doing, because they don't just go window to window, which we all do. There's often that thing of you don't make a move because you know what you're looking to do down the line, and that's the thing. It might not be. We might need to get a body in this summer, but this is when we start to talk about Keita and Oxlade-Chamberlain, and also look the age profile of Thiago and Henderson as well down the line. You want to be in the next 2 years. You really want to be getting your next Jordan Henderson into the squad, and we might own him already. It might be Curtis Jones, at this point. But someone like that, where maybe next summer, if you've managed to get a tune out of either Keita or Ox, all of a sudden there might be an offer on the table, and you go, okay, well, I think we've got all the juice we're going to get out of them. There's a good value there. We'll move them on, and then we'll bring in someone else. The danger with someone like Bellingham and a club like Dortmund is, it can go like that quickly at Dortmund. Whereas I'm throwing another
maybe
name.
Too quickly for us.
Yeah, I'm throwing a name in like Ryan Gravenberch, for example, at Ajax, who's a very highly gifted young midfielder. You can sort of bank where his value will be, no matter how good a season he has, unless Ajax win the Champions League with Ryan Gravenberch as the main man. Yeah. Pretty much, it's going to be within a certain range. Whereas Bellingham can go nuclear with Dortmund. They could literally be latter stages of the Champions League. He can be winning the Bundesliga. He can go from 50 million, 70 million to double that in the course of a season, unless he's got, unless there's a release clause, which I don't think there is at this moment. I haven't heard about that. And also, they're always selling someone. Yeah. So you're at if they're selling Haaland next summer, then are they going to sell Bellingham as well? Do they need to? Maybe not, but I think there's no doubt that he'll play in the Premier League for one of the top 4 clubs in the next 2 seasons.
The problem is that where Liverpool are at, you've got to get in these lads before one of PSG or Chelsea or Man City snap them up and put them on money that makes them unobtainable from there on. But you're right, that's the problem, is too much too soon. I mean, you're seeing this with Mbappe. I said this for years. So second he signed for PSG, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I know what you're doing because you're earning ridiculous money and playing in the Champions League, but you're limiting what you can do next. There's a great piece, it was Rory Smith talking about this, about Messi, because of the way contracts have gone. Messi can't go to Napoli, and he can't go and do something really interesting with the left. He can't go and follow a Maradona-style route where he takes his sparkling talent and goes and improves at a lesser light, because you can't quarter your wages or more than that to even make yourself affordable to these other teams, and that's the issue with Bellingham. And obviously, I have loads of people asking about Mbappe. We'll come to that. Keep your comments coming in. I'm going to get through a few of them in a minute, but I just want to do a flight of fancy before we dive into people's comments. One big one. Lewandowski said he wants a new challenge. Jurgen Klopp loves Lewandowski. Can't shut up about him. Like, I've asked him unrelated questions and he's brought Lewandowski. I was asking him about Jordan Henderson.
I don't blame him.
Played at centre half, I think, and he basically came up with DM. It was Jordan Henderson the 6, and he started glowing.
Lewandowski was a number 10.
Glowing about moving Lewandowski into a number 10, and people saying he was great and blah 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 blah.
Well, no, I mean, of course, who wouldn't take Robert Lewandowski? But I saw it put quite well on Twitter this morning by Chris Williams. I'm sure you know Chris Williams, Bundesliga guy, Liverpool fan, said he's not worth 100 and whatever million to any club except Bayern Munich, which I think makes perfect sense. You know, he's in his early 30s. His record is unsurpassed at Bayern. Obviously, you know what he did last year. You know, poignant given the events of the last couple of weeks, but beating Gerd Muller's record, and you know, he would have won the Ballon d'Or had it not been for the pandemic last year. He's an incredible player. You know, are you shelling now £150 million on a 33-year-old?
32 years old. In fact, he turns 33 on the 21st of August. So
so he's effectively 33. Well, that's
next week.
That's
Saturday.
Saturday.
Same birthday as
my mum. Get him in for his birthday against Burnley.
My mum and Robert Lewandowski share a birthday.
Brilliant, there you go. You find out something every day.
Yeah,
but look, I have no question if Bayern Munich ceased to exist and Robert Lewandowski turned up with his bindle over his shoulder and said to Jurgen, "You got a home for me?" I think Jurgen would find something. Yeah. But it's not.
That's
like
when you're cancelling Shaqiri's contract, by the way.
and a few others, I think, as well. Yeah. But he's incredible, and he's probably, you know, outside of Liverpool, he's probably Jurgen Klopp's biggest success in his career. You know, you say he loves him. Why wouldn't he? I mean, when he looks back on his managerial career and people say, "Who did you manage?" He says, "Oh, remember Robert Lewandowski?" "Oh, you're brilliant at Bayern." He says, "Yeah, but before Bayern, he was at Borussia Dortmund, and it was me who got hold of him and turned him." You know, he's got that. So if he was a free transfer, I wonder whether there's like, you know, or he was in some sort of contractual situation, a la Thiago, where you could do a mad, really cut price deal. I think they'd have the conversation. But you're right, at £100 million for a 33, it's got. I mean, in modern football now, he should have done this a month ago because PSG would have had him. But, you know what I mean? Because they can, because they're not asked for the money. The other thing is, as well, it must be pointed out, and I know this from our Bayern correspondent, Kerry Howe, that they're not going to sell him. Bayern Munich maybe consider it next summer when he's got a year left, but they're not going to sell him, and he's not going to kick up a mega fuss to get out. He would like to, and I think it was worded on Sky something. He wants to play for another top club before he's 35, which. Okay, yeah, great. You know, he's still got a couple of years left then, hasn't he? So I don't think he's even going to be on the move this summer. But of course, I mean, one of Klopp's great success stories, and I'm going to say I'd love to see him in the Premier League, but I'm thinking he probably won't come to Liverpool. Yeah.
I'd love to see him not in the Premier League.
I mean, I love to watch him. Put it that way.
He's in the Premier League era. He's a pure Chelsea signing of like. aging forward,
becomes rubbish.
Comes
that's
to the old centre forward graveyard that is Stamford Bridge. Honestly, I love this. I love rattling through the names of all that, and it goes all the way back to like Vialli, and obviously Zola had a great time at Chelsea and what have you. But like Shevchenko did it, Crespo did it, Mark Hughes did it. I know Kesman was a bit young and didn't work out, but they just love Torres. Yeah, like. The list goes on and on and
Higuain.
on. Yeah, bring
Falcao.
Yeah, they brought Drogba back.
Eto'o.
Yeah, Eto'o.
I tell you what, we could be here all day. Honestly, but it's incredible, isn't it? You know, like I mean, even
world-class centre forwards.
Yeah, Morata. You know, I know he's younger, but still didn't work out for him. There's an awful lot, and you know they've done it. They've gone again, haven't they? With Lukaku, really. I think he'll be the one who bucks the trend personally, but I think. Let's hope not. Yeah, let's hope at least not until the end of August.
Yeah. Defend records with 22 knocks in the super chat. John Arisa, how could we forget the Norwegian player?
Yeah, that's shocking. That on my part. Yeah.
It's because
it's just so scouse to me.
Yeah.
That's it.
And also, I'll be honest, he died a little bit for me with that performance against Chelsea in the Champions League. Yeah, where he was just. It was a bad night all round. I had a very bad night that night.
Yeah, John Arisa. There was Vegard Foran that was linked. If you remember him, he was linked with Liverpool quite heavily. He ended up going to Southampton, never really played. But I remember there was one January under like Dalglish where it was, are they going to sign Vegard Foran?
Frode, Kip.
Never did. Oh, Kip.
Yeah. Tons.
Tons
indeed. Okay, yeah, have you got any more comments coming in? In fact, Cameron here saying, because we're not talking about Saul, why not? Let's do it. But I had a rumour that basically his agents are shopping him around anywhere at this point, trying to get a move for him.
Like it, yeah, I mean, they've signed Rodrigo de Paul, haven't he? Atletico Madrid, and I think you can tell by the amount of stories that are emerging from Spain that it's happening. It's always Man United or it's Liverpool or it's, you know, whatever. Nothing's changed as far as I'm aware. Wasn't a starter as a rumour. I mean, wages huge.
Well, this is a good question on this from Rams saying, do you think it's worth the hassle to sign him for like 45 million when you're paying him 220 grand a week? No, it's not.
Of course, and I've said this. You know, that I think his wages that he was asking for, or that he would be asking for, would make him the highest paid player at Liverpool. Maybe not now, given a couple of the contract extensions, but at the time would have made him. And how do you go into Mo Salah and Jordan Henderson and say, right, this is what you're offering you, and you say, hang on, we've got this fella from Atletico Madrid who's come in, who's, you know, he's an arm midfield rotation option, and he's on more, you know, it upsets the balance of it, and Liverpool, from what I'm told, we're never going to be in that dance.
For me, if you're going to put someone on the top bracket of wages at Liverpool, they've got to be better than someone off at our best.
Yeah, I think it's got to be a new marquee forward, an Alisson Becker or a Virgil van Dijk. I think it's got to be that, or literally, you know, maybe Thiago would fit in that bracket as well. Yeah. Although I'm not convinced he's on what you would call like silly money, Thiago. So I think that's where it falls down for me. And you know, not saying he's not a good player, not saying he wouldn't make Liverpool stronger as a squad, but I don't think it's ever been on the cards.
Yeah. Captain Meets Adventures, one of our YouTube members here, saying Lewandowski coming to Liverpool is a bit like Karl-Heinz Riedler coming to Liverpool. Amazing player, but a bit past his best. Yeah, let's just have it. That's exactly. He's definitely just like Karl-Heinz Riedler. Yeah, he might be a little bit better than Karl-Heinz Riedler, to be fair. Although we did come off the back of winning the European Cup.
Karl-Heinz Riedler's one. I know we're talking on a transfer show here, but I'm talking about Karl-Heinz Riedler and Frode Kip. But I just don't remember him at Liverpool. Like, sort of, I know he was there, and I remember the odd moment, but I just don't remember what he was like at Liverpool.
Yeah, and someone will immediately tell me, and I'll go, oh, of course, but I can't think of immediate. The only thing I remember
Newcastle,
from Riedler,
the only one I remember was they were 2-0 down at Anfield and won 4-2, and I think he got 2. But that's the only game I can.
An incredible leap for a small guy.
He's known,
but I remember him jumping up and controlling him with his throat once, and like going down and clutching his neck, and that's literally my abiding memory of Karl-Heinz Riedler and him playing in the yellow kit. Yeah. But that's
I mean. He's just one of them players that just sort of happened at Liverpool without me sort of taking it all in. I think Michael Owen was just so prominent at the time that you just watch what Michael Owen and Fowler were doing really rather than Karl-Heinz.
FPL Skills got a couple of questions. Is the play requirements the same for the Champions League as they are for the league? I think they are. The homegrown thing's a bit more stringent.
Yeah,
in the Champions League,
it's got to be a certain amount of times at the same club.
Exactly.
Unbroken.
Whereas in the Premier League,
so I think Elliot would take up a space. I think
Yeah.
Because he might not actually, this might be his third year.
It's still 17 non-homegrown,
yeah.
but how you qualify to be homegrown is you've got to have X amount of trained at your academy for a number of years.
It's unbroken at the same club, I think, rather than at an English club.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then he also said, you guys heard about Danjuma's departure to Villarreal? Yeah, we discussed it earlier on in the stream. Have we missed out on a very talented player who can cover for the front three and fits Klopp mould and system?
Well, I think we talked about last week, didn't we? And I can't claim I've watched Bournemouth extensively. I watched the playoff games and I watched a couple, and I think I mentioned I spoke to Harry Redknapp about him, and he was big enough, said he's a Premier League player, which is very, very Harry Redknapp. You can imagine how he said it out of his car door.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but he maybe they have, but I think probably what you've missed out on is a player that you could probably still get from Villarreal in 2 years if he goes on to prove himself as that. And I don't think Liverpool are going to look to the end of the season and go, if we only got Arnaud Danjuma, I think it would still have been a pretty heavy punt.
Timing's everything on this stuff as well, and you can't, sometimes things don't work out and you can be gutted and you can feel devastated about it. But again, I always go back to like the old Football Manager, Champ Manager stuff. It's worse when you know all the players you should buy and you buy them, and then you realise you can only play one or two of them at a time, and all of a sudden you've got this stockpile of lads that you can't lose.
I think it's also tough because we don't consider the player sometimes. So you're talking about leaving Bournemouth. I'm assuming he would have been very happy to have got promoted with Bournemouth to the Premier League and maybe had another crack at the Premier League. He's already had a season, remember. But, are you going to... If you're being offered Europa League winners, Villarreal, who are obviously going to play Champions League this season, probably challenged to qualify for the Champions League through the league in La Liga, you're going to start for them, hopefully, I would imagine. And then you're going to say, well... Do you want to come down with Liverpool, and if we can get rid of X, Y and Z, and if 3 of these players get injured, then you might get a little run of the games. Yeah. Sometimes that is hard to sell as big a name as Liverpool is, and maybe the wages might be better, but some players just actually know, well, I want to go and play for a decent side or a good side rather than be a member of a squad in a great side.
Yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more of the window slowly inexorably heading towards a close with very little extra movement from Liverpool. But yeah, if Shaqiri moves, maybe things will all sort of kick on. What we're going to be doing on Insight Extra, which will be streaming on the redmentv.com, we're going to talk about the Henderson and the Mohamed Salah contract situations and some more of the ins and outs on that. So if you want to get a little bit more chat on that in your life, then do go and sign up on the redmentv.com for that. Thank you to everyone who sent the comments in. Been good fun. I've actually quite enjoyed it, despite the fact there's been very little to actually.
We've made the most of that.
We've done well. I think we've done well. We've carried out our charisma all over there now, I think, which is good for us as much as anything else. We've also got a phenomenal competition. If you want to sign up to the redmentv.com, there's 2 tiers. There's Club Captain and there's Club Legend, and if you join as a Club Legend, then you get a whole host of extra bonus features and all that kind of stuff, but you also get entered into an amazing prize draw competition for a limited edition Jordan Henderson 10 years red box, which I want to Neil because he's an influencer, and he can attest that it's really good.
Should have worn the t-shirt today, shouldn't I?
No,
forgot to.
That's the trick. See, this is why you're not a fully fledged influencer.
Yeah, I'll learn.
Get back on the Insta. Anyway, the details will follow now, and we'll be back with more next week. Ta-ra. Hey, what's happening? Competition time. Phenomenal, world-class, completely exclusive prize for you guys this month. It is a Jordan Henderson 10 years of red commemorative box. These are not for sale anywhere. You cannot buy these. It has got the book in there. It has got the DVD of the series in there. There is a t-shirt, there is a mug, there is a poster as well. It's a money can't buy prize, and you can win it by signing up to the redmentv.com, a Club Legend level over there as well, or by upgrading your existing subscription to Club Legend as well. It's as simple as that. Not only do you get that incredible competition prize, but you get amazing content streamed exclusively for you each and every month. Documentaries, features, interviews, and bonus Redmen TV shows as well. It is a wonderful experience. It's like Netflix for Reds. And yes, in addition to all that, of course, you get to join our Discord group, which is full of wonderful club legends like yourself, and enter into those competitions each and every month. Join up now, enter the competition to win the Hendo 10 years of red exclusive commemorative box, and good luck.